Most world records in everything from the 1500 meters to the marathon are set using a specific racing strategy, but still 90% of all runners don't apply the same simple tactic and end up not getting out their full potential on race day. And this simple pacing tactic is running your first half just a little bit slower than the second half. And although it sounds simple in theory, it is actually really hard to do it right. I myself did this wrong for years before I finally managed to apply it into a race. In this video I'll go through why this is the way to race and how you can make sure to do this the right way in your next race. If we look at the statistics, most world records but also most national records on all distances between 1500 meters and the marathon distance are set with a negative split. So that should mean that that's the way to go. But we should be careful about taking everything that the absolute elite does and just say that that's how amateurs should do it as well. This study looked at 4 million marathon finishers and it showed that the best relative performances to the runner's previous ability was set when doing really even paced races, but with a slight positive split, running the second half a bit slower. So why is that? Isn't a negative split good after all? Looking at the data, it seems like a lot of the amateurs that actually managed to run their second half of a marathon faster than the first one start off way too conservative, meaning that they don't get out their full potential because they simply start off too easy compared to their ability. So I think it is a testament to how hard it is to pace a race the right way, and that it is more important to run as even as possible throughout the race than forcing a negative split with a too slow start. Another study looking at 876,000 marathon performances shows that the most common split for running a personal best is a negative split, with the second half being just 0 to 1% faster than the first. So the evidence seems to suggest that the most important thing is that you manage to pace your race as evenly as possible. And although negative splits seem to be the way to go, at least for the elite, the most important thing is to not start off way too hard or way too slow. But all of these statistics aside, I think there is an even more important reason why you should aim at a negative split. I gotta clean this up. I myself have started so many races too hard and doing positive splits, and even if you can keep the second half not that bad, the racing experience is so much more painful and it's simply not as fun to race when you start out way too hard. So if you manage to run a race with a slight negative split, it will be a bit less painful, or at least it will not start to hurt so early, and it will be a more enjoyable running experience that will make you want to come back to do more races and training, and that is what in the end will make you run faster times. But as I said, although this sounds simple in theory, doing it is a lot harder. So how do you do what more than 90% of runners don't and actually run an even race with a slight negative split? Here are 4 tips. First of all, you gotta as accurately as possible predict your race time, because how are you otherwise gonna know what your opening pace should be? And this can be a tricky thing. The best way to do it is if you have a pretty recent race on the same distance. Then if you know you have gotten in a little bit of a better shape or worse shape, you can just adjust the time a bit and you will be pretty close to what you will be able to run at. If you haven't done that, but you have run a recent race on a different distance, you can find pretty good race predictors online if you just Google it, that can calculate what the same performance on a shorter or longer distance would be in terms of time for the distance you're competing on. If you have none of those, you can try to test in training what you can run. But bear in mind that you most probably will be able to run faster on race day, with the adrenaline, the crowds and everything that surrounds being in a race with a number bib. So for example, if I'm running a 5-kilometer race, rather than doing an all-out 5-kilometer in training, I think a good session to estimate what you can run on is running 5 1-kilometer repeats with a short rest of 1 minute. And if you run that session hard, your 1-kilometer splits should be pretty close to what you could do on a good race day. Another way to make it easier to run negative splits on race day is to actually practice it in training first. And this does not only teach you how to gradually increase the speed, but it also makes most workouts better if you can ease into them and finish strong. This is a good approach to have when doing intervals, trying to end the last ones the fastest, but it could also be applied on other running sessions, for example long runs. Starting off really slow in the beginning and then increasing the pace throughout the workout. This is how many elite runners are known to do their long runs. Before I talk about the most important tip on this topic, I want to thank my Patreon supporters. If you also want to support this channel so I can make more videos and also get access to some bonus content and a Discord discussion forum, where we discuss all things training and racing and basically cheer each other on. Then you can become a Patreon member, there's a link in the description. But either way, I'm really happy that you're here, subscribing and watching these videos. It really means a lot. Let's head into the most important thing to be aware of when trying to pace your race optimally. When you're standing on the start line of any race, there will be a lot of adrenaline pumping through your system. You will be eager to start and your legs will most probably be fresh and well rested. This, in combination with all the other people around you pushing hard, is what makes it so easy to get over-eager and start out a bit too fast. Or way too fast in many cases. I think you really gotta be patient and really believe in your own tactic from the start of the race to not start too hard. So this is where you gotta be mentally strong to hold on to your race tactic. And it will pay off. A good way of thinking is that when you see people maybe running past you or sprinting out of the starting line, you can think to yourself that they are most probably starting out too hard. And if you find the perfect pace for you, you have a good chance of passing them later on in the race. And there are few things that are as fun as feeling strong at the end of a race and get to pass a lot of people in the second half. So how do you monitor that you actually run at your planned pace and effort? For a flat road race, this is in a way pretty easy because you can just follow along on your kilometer splits on your running watch to make sure that you hit your target pace. But this is harder to do on a hilly course or on a trail or mountain races, because then of course the terrain will affect your pace just as much as the effort you put in. Then the heart rate can be a good tool if you know the heart rate you can keep for the full race time and try not to go over that. But the best thing is, of course, if you can manage to learn the feeling you're supposed to have. But then again, this you can easily be tricked by because of the adrenaline and the feeling you get at the start of a race. When I ran a mountain race earlier this year, it of course felt good at the start of the race, heading up a massive mountain, but I quite quickly understood that I had started out way too optimistic, and I got punished for that with a lot of pain in my legs and not finishing as fast as I could have had if I had started a little bit more restrictive. If you want to see an example of when I actually managed to do a negative split on a 5 km race and see how that paid off, check out this video here and good luck on pacing your next race.